Level 1. Okay, it says, what is the volume of a sphere with a diameter of 6.4 centimeters, rounded to the nearest tenths place in cubic centimeters? Okay, so volume of a sphere, diameter 6.4. So let me pull up my whiteboard here. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right. There we go. And let me share my whiteboard. There it is. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my whiteboard now. I'm pretty confident you can, but if you can't for whatever reason, please in the chat let me know if you can't see what I'm doing, okay? So volume of a sphere, 6.4 centimeters. So a sphere simply is just a three-dimensional circle, right? Like the Earth is a sphere, right? So I have a circle, and then it's three-dimensional, right? Like the Earth or a basketball or something like that, okay? So we have a diameter of 6.4. So that's my diameter, 6.4 centimeters. So we just need to use the volume of a sphere formula, which I gave you guys in the notes. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit. So the volume of the sphere formula is the volume of a sphere is equal to, now I want to show you two. They're not separate, they're the same. And I went over this in the notes, 4/3 pi r cubed. Or it can be written like this, right? Because if I put that over 1 and multiplied it all together, wouldn't I just get 4 pi r cubed over 3, right? So this is the same as that. They are the same, okay? So I think it's easier if you guys use this one, because what you'll end up doing is you'll end up multiplying everything together in the numerator and then just dividing by the denominator. So personally, it's my recommendation, use that one. I think it just makes more sense for you. So let's do it. So 4 pi, so 4 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, so they gave us a diameter of 6.4. So we don't want to plug in 6.4 for the radius because it's not the radius. But we know that the radius is simply the diameter divided by 2. So 6.4 divided by 2 is 3.2. That's our radius. So times 3.2. Now remember, this is cubed, not squared, and then all divided by 3. So that's a pretty common mistake, is that you guys are used to squaring everything. So just in the volume formula for a sphere, it's cubed, not squared. It's just something you gotta train yourself to remember, okay? Now from here, we're just basically gonna kind of simplify it a little bit and kind of see what we get, okay? So let's go ahead and do the 3.2 cube part. So grab your calculators and do 3.2 cubed. Some calculators have a cubed button, like a square button, you know. Some have a button where you can cube a number, some don't. If it doesn't, you might just have to do it the long way, okay? Here, I can kind of show you. Let me share my calculator and just kind of show you what that looks like. I think that would be kind of a cool thing to do. So let's see, here's my calculator. You should be able to see my calculator now. So if I wanted to do 3.2 cubed, so I'm going to punch in 3.2, and then you can use, see, I have a cube button right here, if you can see it. Now your calculator may not have that. So if it doesn't have that, it should have a button that looks like this right here. It should say like x to the power of y, or it might even say y to the power of x. Again, it just depends on the calculator. So you can use that button too. So if I click that, it's basically asking me, okay, what power do you want to raise this number to? Well, we want to raise it to the third power, right? We're cubing it. So I just hit 3 and then I hit equals. And that's what you guys should be getting, 32.768. Okay, we're not going to round that because that's not our answer, right? We don't round something if it's not the answer. All right, now, if you guys can't figure out the whole cube thing, remember, something to the power of 3 simply means times itself 3 times. So you can always just go 3.2 times 3.2 times 3.2 3 times, right? And you'll get the same thing, okay? And it's not like it takes that much longer anyways, but it is nice to, like, if you know these like little shortcut buttons, it makes your life a little bit easier, okay? All right, so 32.768. So let's go back to our whiteboard here. So I got to remember that. So, and then we want to take that number 32.768 and we want to multiply that. I'm going to go ahead and multiply it by 4 right now, right? So I'm going to take that and multiply it by 4. So times 4 you should be getting 131.072. And then we're just going to multiply it by pi. So actually, let's write it in exact form, because it's important you guys know that there's two different forms. So 131.072 pi, because we have not multiplied by pi, all divided by 3. And that cannot be reduced. So therefore, this is our, what we call the exact volume of the sphere, okay? So if you're asked a question that says, give the exact volume, that's the answer we're looking for. It just means don't multiply by pi, because when we multiply by pi, we have to round, right? All right, so let's go ahead and round it just to get an approximate, because I would say most of the time you're probably going to be asked to approximate it. So let's take 131.072, punch that in, let's multiply it by pi. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and divide it by 3. And it said round to the 10th place, so I get 132 or 137.25. But we're going to round that to 137.3. So it's going to be about 137.3 centimeters cubed. Remember, volume is cubic, right? Cubed. So there you go. That's what we're looking at. So let's go back in. Let's make sure that hopefully I did it right. So 137.3. Let's go back to Delta Math and punch that in. 137.3. And submit. Are you sure you want to submit? Yes, I am very sure. And look at that check mark. We got it right. Cool. And look, guys, it even like kind of goes through the problem with you, and you can kind of see what's happening, right? And that's basically what we did. Notice how they did 4/3, right? I warned you of that in the beginning, right? It's the same thing that we did. All right, cool. Let's go to the next one. So here we go. What's the volume of a sphere? You know what? I'm going to change this to sphere to hemisphere. If you see the word hemisphere, that just means that it's half of a sphere. So all you have to do is divide by 2. Because I did see some problems where it says, what's the volume of a hemisphere? Well, all you got to do is find the volume of the sphere and then just divide it by 2. Because a hemisphere, if you think about it, how many hemispheres are in the Earth, right? 2 of them. There's a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere divided by the equator, right? So that's what a hemisphere is. It's just half of a sphere. So you would just find the volume of a sphere and divide it by 2. So if you run into that problem, that's all you're doing, okay? Because I did see that pop up, even though it hasn't popped up here. All right, so this one says, what's the volume of a sphere? Radius 8.2, rounded to the 10th place. Okay, so let's go back to our whiteboard. So a radius of 8.2. Share that. So let's get a new canvas here. Okay, so again, I got a sphere. Okay, great. There it is, and it's got a radius of 8.2. So this time they gave us the radius. They did not give us the diameter. So that's important that you guys recognize that. So let's use our formula. Volume equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. And we're just going to take this radius and we're going to plug it in there. That's pretty much it. All right, so let's write it out. So guys, show your work. I've been getting on a lot of you for not showing work, right? You can let the calculator do the calculations, but you can still show this work. So 4 pi times 8.2 cubed, and then we'll divide it by 3. Now from here, you guys, I think that's enough work. Like if you show me the formula and then you show me the substitution, that's enough work for me. Like I can totally see what you're doing. But if you don't show me any of that, it's hard for me to figure out where your answer comes from. All right, so let's use our calculator, grab it. Let's do it. I like to do 8.2 cubed first and kind of get that over with, and then we can multiply it by 4 and then multiply it by pi and then divide it by 3. So let's do 8.2 cubed. So however you're going to do that, you guys should be getting 551.368. Let's multiply it by 4. And then let's multiply it by pi. And then let's divide it by 3. And there you go. Double check, guys. Did you get 2,309.6? We're rounding to the 10th place, right? So 2,309.6 if If I'm wrong, let me know, because sometimes I do, like, will accidentally make a mistake and I don't catch it. I need you guys to point that out for me. So I think it was centimeters again. So centimeters cubed, and that's the volume of that sphere. So let's go back, punch it in, 2309.6. 2309.6. There we go. Also, too, guys, use these help videos as well. All right, you can always use those for any problem. They're really cool to use. So anytime, watch those. Yes. All right, cool. We got it. Got it again. There it is. And it shows you the work. Pretty cool. Okay, great. So nice. Let's go back. So we did 2 of those. Let's see volume of a sphere 2. Let's see if these are any different. Let's see what the difference is. And if it's pretty different, then we'll do one. So it says volume of a sphere level 2. Let's click on that. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's a hemisphere question that I was warning you about. See, there it is. So this is actually a really good one to practice. So it says, what is the diameter of a hemisphere with a volume of this? So we have a hemisphere that has a volume of this, okay? So and we need to round it to the nearest tenth of a foot. Okay, I got to remember that number, 52,079. 52,079. So let's go to our whiteboard. There it is. Okay. Okay, so it said, let me write this down before I forget, 52,079. What's the diameter? Okay. So what we need to do then is write the formula for a hemisphere, right? So the volume of a sphere is 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. That's the volume for a full sphere, right? But in the problem it says it's a hemisphere, which just means half of a sphere, right? So what we need to do is take our formula and divide it by 2, right? We need to divide this by 2, or 2 over 1. And a math skill that you guys definitely have been taught before, and you should know that when you divide by a number, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So dividing by 2 over 1 is the same thing as multiplying by 1 over 2, 1/2. Times 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. Well, that makes it a lot easier, right? Because now if I just multiply straight across, so 4 pi r cubed times 1 is simply just 4 pi r cubed, and then 3 times 2 is 6. So here's the formula for the volume of a hemisphere. How did I get that? I just took the original sphere formula and I divided it by 2, or times 1/2, same thing, right? So that's what we want to use for this question, right? So the volume of our hemisphere is 4 pi r cubed over 6. And then look, I can even simplify here. 4 over 6, they both can be divided by 2, right? So that 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So actually, a more simplified formula, it can be 2 pi r cubed over 3. Okay, so let me write this over here just to kind of clear it up. So the volume of a hemisphere is 2 pi r cubed over 3. And they're saying that the volume of our hemisphere is this, 52,079. Well, that should be plugged in for the volume, right? Because they want us to find the diameter. So 52,079 is equal to 2 pi r cubed over 3. I want to make that into a fraction, right? Now I have a ratio, right? 2 equivalent ratios, right? And we can solve this by cross multiplication. So 2 pi r cubed times 1 is simply 2 pi r cubed. And then 52,079 times 3. Why don't you guys punch that in? 52,079 times 3. And these equal each other, right? You guys should be getting 156,237. So now we're just going to solve this equation. Look, for you guys, we're going to solve it for the radius. Why are we going to do that? Well, if I know the radius, I know the diameter, right? So let's think of it that way, right? So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi here. So I'm going to divide by 2 pi. So now I have r cubed equals